So on to part 2 of all the card reveals. We have a Runecraft as our next lot of cards to look at. So Unbodied Witch is the next card we're taking a good look at. Pretty interesting artwork. I do like the whole wrapped up sort of thing and then evolving into that kind of pink one. Pretty interesting. But its effect is what really shines in this expansion. I mean, it's got Ward and it's got a awesome fanfare. So choose a card in your hand and put 9 copies of that card into your hand if it's full. A hand can hold 9 cards, so they at least felt the need to specify that. At the start of your turn, evolve this follower. Doesn't have Ward. Whenever this follower attacks, spell boost the cards in your hand 10 times. So, absolutely massive. Of course, you guys can't quite see the end of that text, so I do apologize for that evolve. It's just the way the screen had to be set up for this, but it's fine. You can find all this on the website. Absolutely massive, honestly. Having Ward, putting 10 cards, the spell boost. If you saved one evolve for this card alone, it would be a monster, especially in Unlimited where spell boosting cards is absolutely busted. Then of course, Rune, the 4-drop 2/3. I actually really love the art on this card. Fanfare, choose, put either a Prophecy of Boons or Prophecy of Doom into your hand. Prophecy of Boon is an interesting name to go with. Evolve whenever this follower attacks, spell boost cards in your hand. I'm assuming that's the same as that there. Which Prophecy of Boons, draw 2 cards. If their cards have been spell boosted at least 5 times, recover 2 play points. So that's pretty good. If this has been spell boosted, it's basically free, or at least in the essential play style. If you're playing this, you've already spell boosted, you play this for 2 points, you get 2 back, you can play other cards, which is nice. Then we have Prophecy of Doom. This one's much more interesting. Give the enemy leader the following effect at the end of your turn. Deal 7 damage to your leader. So giving them that effect means they are taking 7 damage. It's also spell boost subtractable, the same as D-Shift is. So you combo this card in something like this is absolutely massive, especially since there aren't really any conditions to putting those into your hand. So getting a Prophecy of Doom only requires you to have played Destiny Bard first, which I suppose means minimum turn 4, which is crazy. And then you have to start spell boosting massively. But with the other new legendary, this thing has some massive potential at least, which I really like to see. Then we have Snowman King. This is probably my number 1 favorite card, only because I love snowmen. Snowmen are absolutely amazing and adorable, and I would play them all day. I mean, it's a 7-drop 2/3, which is a pretty shocking stat line, but it does have fanfare. Choose summon 1 Snow Knight or summon 1 Wild Snowman. Spell boost, summon 1 more. So a Snow Knight is pretty cool. It's a 2-drop 2/2 ward. That's okay. And a Wild Snowman is a 2-drop 1/3 storm. So you get both the ward and storm synergies, which I really enjoy with these sort of cards. And when you get them for fanfares, how can you really go wrong? Then we have Absolute Zero Blade. So a 3-drop spell. Destroy an enemy follower with 2 defense or less. Draw a card if an evolved allied follower is in play. Spell boost, destroy an enemy follower with 1 more defense. So I like the spell boost to destroy a follower with 1 more defense ability, especially when you consider we have other cards that do similar things, except in this case, destroying something with a certain defense number, I think is actually better than direct damage removal, just because it makes it a little easier to get rid of something. So I mean, as long as you've got, 12 damage, instant removal, doesn't need to actually damage it, works out really nicely. I mean, in that case, this should work on certain other cards, which would be really good. Then we have 4-drop Amulet, Earth Sigil, sorry. Summoning Drills. So this is a countdown 3 fanfare. Summon a Guardian Golem. Last words, summon a Scrap Golem. We should all know what Guardian Golems and Scrap Golems are by now. Guardian Golem is the 3/3 ward, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's Guardian. And Scrap is the 1/2 ward, I think, if I'm right. It's been a while since I've messed around with Scrap Golems. 3-drop 2/3 silver. Evolve, summon an Imperial Mammoth and give it Rush. Banish it at the start of your next turn. Perform Earthright, give it Ward. So this thing's evolve, weird, give it Rush, crazy. It's just an interesting one overall. I really would love to see this get some awesome play. Then we have the 2-drop 2/2 Mysteria Wyrmps, or Wyrmps. I don't know how we're pronouncing that, but it's fine. If you have at least 6 play points, play this card as either a Mysterian White Wyrmth or Mysterian Black Wyrmth. So this is the white and black card, which is super interesting. Going with the 6-drop 5/6 play, you would get a Fanfare, put a Mysterious Circle into your hand, give all Mysterious spells in your hand the following effect to draw 1 card. Then, of course, the black is the opposite, which is the Missile effect with similar stuff. Give it and deal 1 damage to the enemy leader instead. So, give Mysterious spells the following effect, deal 1 damage to the enemy. Yeah, so this is slightly more interesting. I think the black one has some real potential to create a massive Mysteria burn deck, and I'd really like to be able to mess around with something like that a little more, especially since Mysteria is a very interesting archetype and has some real potential. Then, of course, we have Staff of Whirlwinds, a 5-drop spell. Deal 3 damage to an enemy follower, then deal 1 to all enemies. It's basically a weaker form of Breath of Salamander, but for Rune, which I think I'm pretty okay with, and I like seeing some AoE, especially when this has the potential to be buffed by Mysteria. I think it's kind of nice. I think the Holy Nova might be slightly better, being a 4-drop deal 2 to everything, but this isn't too bad either. Then we have the 4-drop 1/4, a Moonshade Mage. Fanfare, gain +1/+0, spell boost, gain +1 more. So this thing can be absolutely busted in boosting, but unless it's evolved, its stats aren't that impressive. You really want at least 3 to 4 spell boost on this card before turn 4, and then if you were playing it on the evolved, that's when you want to be using it, just because it's 6 health is going to be hard to remove on the evolved turn, while at the same time giving it a massive health total. Then we have Witch of Foresight, 2-drop 1/2. I'll also mention that other card would be great with D-Shift. Fanfare, put a random spell from your deck in your hand, basically a tutor for spells, which is pretty normal. Then a 2-drop Beast-Faced Mage, 2/2. Clash, put an Earth Essence into your hand. Great. Basically unlimited Earth Essence. Could be good in a few different kinds of decks. I mean, especially things with Silverblade Golem. I mean, it has some good potential. Then we have the Dragoncraft cards, and the first one off the bat is the Dragoncraft Legendary. So this is the one from the trailer, which looks super sick. Lindworm is a 10 play points, 10 attack, 10 defense. Solid evolve stats. If you're playing at least 10 other non-follower cards this match, so spells obviously, amulets, whatever else, non-followers, and you have 10 play points, play this card as a Ferocious Lindworm or an Inquitious Lindworm. I'm really bad with that, but that's fine. Anyway, the first one of these two is keeping all of its stats, but at the end of your turn, restore 5 defense to your leader, then draw 5 cards. So massive recycler and massive body, pretty cool, and a good defensive draw. Then, of course, I believe this is the offensive draw. So this one is the Storm. I think the Storm is the much more interesting card just because it's absolutely huge, and combo that with Dragon's Ramp, and this card could come out reasonably early. I mean, it's got some super sick potential to come out early. Can attack the enemy leader, ignore enemy followers with Ward. Wow, that's what I mean. Wow. This card absolutely crushes every kind of thing. It's basically Elephant on steroids at this point. The main condition that's going to be hard to meet is going to be that 10 other non-follower cards, unless you are running a bunch of super low stuff. So I can see this being a great finisher, especially in Storm Dragon, as long as you are running enough spells and stuff to counterbalance that. And with the loss of a lot of the good spells like Fervor and Salamander, that could be a bit more difficult. So we'll have to kind of wait and see exactly how this deck plays out, but I think this card still has a lot of good potential. Then we have Draconic Mail, so a 9-drop 5/5 Fanfare, change your leader's maximum defense to 10. Give your leader the following effect. At the end of your turn, deal 5 damage to a random enemy follower. If no enemy follower are in play, deal 5 damage to the enemy leader instead. This effect is not stackable and lasts for the rest of the match. So, personally, don't like this much. No enemy followers are in play, deal 5 damage to the enemy leader instead. That's fine. Dealing it to a random enemy follower feels kind of bad. Everything else, okay, I guess. I mean, this is basically an infinitely recyclable effect because it does change your leader's max defense to 10, which is a huge risk, especially since, you know, Dragon kind of wants to float around the 13-14 mark, not really on 10. That's kind of a dangerous spot to be in. And the leader effect is still super good, but super awkward at the same time because it only takes a weak follower to block out this attack. So, really an interesting card, but I think if this thing can be pulled off, it'll be super interesting. Then, of course, we have a Dragon Cleaver Roy, 3-drop 2/2. Fanfare, choose. Put either a Dragon Life Blade or Dragon Strike Blade into your hand. Dragon Lifeblade, gain an empty playpoint orb. So this is taking the spot of something like Fervor a little bit, just because he is a 3-drop and the spell is a 2-drop. Sorry, a 2-drop. So you can clearly see the resemblance to gaining a playpoint on 5, which is similar to how Sybil functions, but this could be played a little earlier, which is always good. Plus, because these are spells, they will add to your 10 non-follower play count that you will need to reach that awesome dragon. So that's also quite good. Then, of course, the next one, the Dragon Strife Blade, is a deal 3 damage to an enemy follower. If it's a Dragoncraft follower, deal 6 damage instead. Interesting that Dragon got a counter Dragon card. I mean, it's better than giving a specific class counter Dragon cards, so they could have gave this effect to, say, Rune and said, oh, hey, here, have a card that specifically counters Dragon, but that would also set a weird precedent for other classes to get other counter cards just for individual class matchups. Interesting idea. I think putting it in Dragon was their best bet if they wanted to have an individual class targeting. And, of course, because it doesn't really give us much other specification, dealing 6 is going to be pretty solid to a Dragon when you're playing a mirror. So 3-drop Force of Dragonute, a pretty solid looking spell, deal 1 damage to all enemies, enhance 5, deal 2 damage instead. For a 3-drop, dealing 1 damage, not that great. Even at 2, not that great. Running in Geodragon, if you could pull that off somehow, might work, but still seems super bad compared to its basically brother, the awesome Salamander. Then we have Gullah, the 2 breaths. So this is a 5-drop 4/4. Fanfare, choose, put either a white breath or black breath into your hand. So white breath is draw 2 cards for 2, and black breath is 4, destroy an enemy follower or amulet, which amulet destruction is always going to have some value, and I think this is pretty perfect for that as a 4-drop, so really nice to see that one. Then Heroic Dragonslayer, a 2-drop 3/1 or a 2-drop 5/3 with the Evolve, of course. Fanfare, transform a Dragoncraft card in your hand into a Dragon's Handspur. So Dragon's Handspur we will probably get to look at it when we go to the tokens, which should be very soon, I guess. They're normally towards the end, but we will get there and mention what that does. Just keep in mind this being a 2-drop 3/1 is reasonably weak to a lot of spells, so transform a Dragoncraft card into a Dragon's Handspur might be worthwhile. Otherwise, we have a 2-drop Water of Orcas, probably my favorite card by far for Dragon so far, only because I love Orcas. I love the water-based cards, and I would love to see Ocean Dragon just take off, but honestly, this seems more like PDK support just because of the way it functions. You could easily play PDK, drop this as the Enhanced 6, and go absolutely crazy with it, and get at least 3 followers on that for one single card, which is always good. Then we've got the Twilight Dragoon Coda, 6-drop 5/2, can't be attacked, same as Evolve, basically just a can't be attacked card, nothing to really see there. Darkwing Assassin, a 5-drop 4/4, statline about average. Rush, whenever I play a non-follower card, gain +1/+0, so again pushing that non-follower support is a nice way to go. Getting a nice little bit of buff along with the Rush could work out well, but I don't know how that will go in the long run. Then we have Draconic Clad Blademaster, 3-drop 2/3 bronze. Fanfare, gain +1/+1 and Bane if Overflow is active. Another good card that could work quite nicely with the synergy that PDK supports for Overflow. So I think that would be where this card is one of the more solid ones, especially with Dragoon Scyther and stuff. I mean, Dragoon Scyther I believe is Rage of Bahamut, so that should be leaving. If it's not, it's Tempest of the Gods, but sometimes I confuse which one is which. But if it is leaving, this takes its slot reasonably well, although it doesn't have any kind of Rush or Storm, which makes it a little bit weaker in that sense. Then we have the 2-drop 2/1 White Worm, which is last word, put a Dragon's Nest in your hand, so good way to get Dragon's Nest for a low cost and works well with PDK. Most of these cards seem to have good PDK support, which is nice. So this is Dragon's Handspur. This is the one that goes with the 3, I think it was 3 or 2-drop 3/1 or whatever it was. Anyway, you're transforming a Dragon card into this, so that's always going to lose you some value, but deal 3, draw a card if Overflow is active. Not too shabby. For a 4-drop, I don't know if I really wanted that much, but it has potential, and that's what I enjoy to see in my cards, so it's always nice when we see that. So next video we're going to be looking at the shadow cards along with whatever comes next. I think the order is shadow into blood maybe, or portal, I'm not sure. I think portal's last before neutral, so we'll get to see, but this should be super interesting. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it so far, and hopefully you'll stay tuned for the next part, which will go up very, very shortly, and I'll catch you guys then. See ya.